Check. Hello. 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 Check. Check. Hello. Hello.
हाँ, ठीक है, आवाज ठीक आ रही है।
Check. Hello. Check. Hello. Check.
Hello, hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yeah, session is about to begin, no?
Yes, sir. Right now, there is a tea break.
Okay, धन्यवाद, thank you.
Welcome back to the technical session. We are in the process of starting the technical session, and we have already in the hall our guests. I request all the dignitaries and participants to please join Homi Bhabha Auditorium at the earliest so that we can start the technical session. We are already delayed by some time. So I request please join Homi Bhabha Auditorium at the earliest. May I request the attendees who are sitting in the behind chairs, please take their seats in the front chairs. Please come forward. Who are in the back benches, please may come in the front seats, please. So I welcome you all to the technical session of InPAC 2025. This is the first technical session, and after we have had a wonderful start of the conference with an insightful and inspiring technical inaugural session and the address by our chief guest, Shri K.N. Vyas sir, and our keynote speaker, Shri Dr. Sumit Som sir. We are now in the momentum of going to the technical session. And friends, I am happy to inform you and honored to have Shri Gurnam Singh sir, who is the pioneer of accelerator program and the synchrotron radiation sources Indus 1 and Indus 2 in RRCAT in particular, and in general in India also. So he doesn't deserve any formal introduction, but for the sake of general audience, I would just speak up a two line. He has graduated from BRC Training School in 1973 in the 17th batch, and then headed beam physics design group at RRCAT. He has not only designed the Indus 1 and Indus 2 synchrotron radiation sources, but also commissioned and even operated those machines. And sir, the fruits we are now seeing in the round the clock operation of these two machines as national facility. Sir, in this first technical session, we have 4 technical presentations, and may I request Sri Gurnam Singh sir to please take his seat on the dais as a session chair. He will be providing us the guidance throughout this technical session. Please welcome Gurnam Singh sir. With this brief introduction, I just hand over the podium to Gurnam Singh sir for conducting the further proceedings of this technical session.
Good morning, everybody. Let me first say that I am extremely happy to be amongst you today after a very long period. In fact, this is a sort of homecoming for me. I am meeting all my colleagues. It's a wonderful experience. So I would first like to thank the organizers of this conference for inviting me and for giving me this honor of chairing this session. So my gratitude to them. Incidentally, as earlier speakers have said, that the first conference was held in 2003. I would like to say that I also had the privilege of being the convener of the first conference which was held in 2003. And since then, I have attended almost all conferences of this series, barring 1 or 2. And my observation is that this is acting as a very good forum for accelerator physicists, technologists, those who are involved in the field of accelerator, for interaction, meeting together, sharing their ideas. So the goal with which this concept was conceived, and thanks for conception of the concept, I will say, I will thank Dr. Bavalkar, who mooted this idea and got it implemented. In fact, the co-convener of this conference is also here, Mr. Bhagwat. So, as Director Malche also said that this is like a Kumbh Mela for accelerator scientists. I find this is a very good simile which he gave. So before now, without taking much of your time, I will proceed to the technical session, which is already getting delayed. The first talk is by Professor Avnish Chandra Pandey, Director Inter-University Accelerator Center, New Delhi. He is a very trained in many fields, physics, chemistry, even holds an MBA degree and has done a lot of research has been a vice chancellor, good administrator. So his talk is on swift heavy ion based radiation biology research at IUAC. So I request Professor Pandey to bring from his biodata. You see, he has been a very distinguished scientist and continues to be a distinguished scientist, published more than 300 research papers, and has worked in various organizations and now leading the Inter-University Center for further progress. May I request Professor Pandey to start his talk?
Thank you, sir, for nice introduction. So we are privileged that we have the convener of the first InPAC, which was held long back in 2003. So I'm taking you to the registered office of ISPA, which is IUAC, for which I have included the photograph here. And this is also a facility where the young minds are trained to take up the challenges of accelerator-based physics. And that is what is our mission and vision. We operate round the clock, despite the fact that there is a long backlog. That means a lot of interest is there from the Indian community to experiment with accelerators. So we have added many such facilities which are an offshoots, and also in terms of making our users, this accelerator is for knowledge, is not for other applications. So this was set up long back, and you could see here it started with the modest few beamlines, and then we added the SC Linac facility, and then this is exclusively for nuclear science facility. Very recently, we have implemented this high current injector. Somebody will be talking about this, and this is also made operational. First experiment was performed besides other facilities. So what we do here, we have a large number of students coming from the academia. So we provide them a kind of opportunity where they can be made interested to go into experimental sciences. So very recently, this NEP 2020 was also rolled in, and the idea was to make it more multidisciplinary. So out of that, accelerators are not only for building accelerator, but many such things can be built, the technology. So this is one such manifestation in which we came out with 1.5 Tesla superconducting MRI scanner, and Dr. Som was talking about niobium titanium. Here, the magnet which we had fabrication, it was having 40-kilometer long length of niobium titanium, and all the standards to meet with the competitors were met, and this is being made commercial with the help of some of the industrialists. So this is one offshoot, which is because we were working in cryogenics, in other areas which are required for making the operations of accelerator possible. So the other important thing which I would like to emphasize, in the early morning, Dr. Malche was talking about this activity. We have to join hands together. If wish list of Dr. Vyas, that we should come out with some of the things which can be made societally relevant. So we have to come out and join hands together. So this is one such example. It is not that we are working for ourselves, for fabricating quarter wave resonators for the other institutions, but also we have done something which was mentioned today by Dr. Malche, that PIP-II also uses the quarter wave resonator which was fabricated in India with the help of these three centers. So these are some of the things which makes youngsters feel proud and also take this responsibility that they can also do a lot of wonderful things. And these are some of the things which you could see is the outcome of our expertise and skill, which is lying here and there in the country. So this is another important thing, that 3 petaflop facility, which is having mostly from our side, from Indian side, the the cooling thing, and also the GPU, CPU, which was integrated, and that was made operational by dedicating it to nation by Prime Minister himself. So this is to complement and to help the students who are waiting for their experiments by the time they can go for in silico experiments, and they can zero down which combination will be most suited for experimental work at IUAC. This is another area in which we are have lead ion traps, which are Paul and Penning. So we can have this bound electron G factor study, which can be calculated, and radiative lifetimes, and also relativistic electron impact ionization cross sections, which is also being one of the verticals of National Quantum Mission. So I'm talking about some of the things which becomes offshoot of your expertise, which is actually meant for maintaining, operating, and running these accelerators. So today in the morning, we were talking about cyclotron. So we tried to mimic what was done long back by Lawrence. So this baby cyclotron, which we tried, and we found that many gaps are there. Gaps in the sense that whatever is available on the internet, if you try to do it, you'll face many challenges, be it ion source, be it making it the T's, and also the RF is not an easy task. So our task was to master this particular thing, and then we can come out with 1 MeV or 2 MeV fixed energy cyclotron, which can be placed in many of the hospitals, because India is also going to face a problem of cancer patients that are rising in number. So 4, 5C, that is cholera, cardiovascular, then this car accidents, then fourth one is cancer, and then climate change. These C's are also bothering us to take how we can counter these menace. So that is one thing which I would like to highlight. And then I'm bringing this terahertz facility, which also got support from BARC, where from we got magnets, different kind of magnets to commission the beam line. But this has got some applications in medical imaging, because the polar molecules, water, they exhibit a strong absorption, and they can be exploited for many of the things. For example, normal tissues and cancer tissues can be differentiated because they have got different ability of holding water. And then you can also go for living state of bacteria according to their different hydrogenated states, hydration levels. And this is becoming a sort of non-invasive technique of imaging. So medical imaging is also possible. So we are developing capacity. It is not thrown open for medical diagnostics, but definitely a lot of work is to be done to understand the basics so that the people in India can work in this area. In the same lines, Dr. Som was talking about this particular reaction, the therapy part. So can we have such kind of facility in which we can produce the short-lived radioisotopes that can be made available to the nearby AIMS hospital, and 50% types of the cancers can be treated if we follow this seeding by stable short-lived isotopes through brachytherapy. So we demonstrated that it is possible. The only thing is that we have to make doctors ready. They are having many sort of reservations. If they are following some radiotherapy, why to go for this particular thing? So that is one area in which we have to look in detail. So why heavy ion radiation biology is important? Why should we study? So the first thing is the cancer treatment, which is based on hadron therapy. So we have proton therapy 2 in India. One is in Apollo Chennai, another one is Tata. If you count the total number of patients that have been catered, it is less than 3,000 patients. Country like India, 3,000 patients by 2 machines, and that 2 by proton is not enough. We say that we have extended the life of a person, of a patient, but we forget that life becomes miserable after you receive radiotherapy. When you have advanced techniques, proton therapy, hadron therapy, definitely, and very recently a Nature paper has also come in which they have demonstrated the peel of the orange, and they have found that the cover of that orange is almost same what the orange is. So while killing that orange, which is in form of tumor, you kill a lot of other normal tissues, and because of that, the patient goes under a kind of turmoil. So that should be also avoided if we can have enough number, but we cannot buy. We have the capability, we should take the lead, and also the youngsters, they should take as a mission of their life to at least work in this direction. The second important motivation for which we have strengthened the ion radiation biology at IUAC is because India's ambitious plan for manned space mission, in which 8th Gaganyaan mission is likely to happen till 2028. Bharatiya Antariksh Station is likely to go the first module. Then crewed lunar mission is also one such thing where we need to study a lot of things. Why I say a lot of things? Because is not we used to do for electronics. Whatever electronics used to go to satellite, it was tested for radiation hardness. It was an easy job. It was simply that a single event upset, you set it up, and then if for 5 years the electronics is going to stay, you calculate the dose, you bombard it with the radiation and look at if anything changes, that means you have to take it or you have to reject. In body, many cells, many kind of components are there. They react differently to radiation, and that two different radiations. So we have high sensitivity, very high sensitivity, some of the things, and how to have all those data for which we should be capable of having our own data. So many of the studies we have performed, we have looked at. In US, they have done with 33 ion beams together to simulate the radiation environment of a space. So if you do in series by exposing one ion beam or with other species or with other species, that is not going to mimic the actual hardness, which is actually you are going to face when the radiation environment is there. So many things which can be looked at: gastrointestinal, cognitive impairment, and the twin study in which twin brothers were put at International Space Station, and many omics, biochemical, metabolics, this proteomics, genomics, telomeres, they were all studied. What happens when a body stays there and how the different components, different systems respond to those radiation, and that too, the real situation is 33 types of ion beams, not one. So that is the challenge before us, how we can go forward. Similarly, mixed beam facility at Stockholm, alpha plus gamma ray, they also came out with similar kind of synergistic effects that were seen. And then there were several kind of flight stressor, RIDGE, space radiation isolation and confinement. And I'm highlighting this because Sunita Williams has just returned after isolation, confinement, distance from Earth, zero gravity, and hostile environment. So these are some of the things which need to be studied in detail. And for that, we have to understand, this is all you all know, the sieverts is important. How much sievert is required to be tested for different components of the body rather than putting only grays. So that makes the life little difficult. And this is what we have the accepted norms, but sometimes this is also to be agreed that what should be the radiation doses which need to be tested in the laboratory. There is no uniformity, no sort of agreed value. I was told by Institute of Science Bangalore that we want to test 6,000 grays with one such mic. It will not survive. So these are some of the things which need to be studied, and why this is important. Synergistic effect is required because this is all having many disciplines involved. So the people who are studying like us, physics, they are only looking at the phenomena at 10 to the power minus 16. But as the time passes, involvement of others becomes important, and biology is the discipline which looks at some of the things when it is studied over a period of hours or more than that. And many such processes which we have undertaken at molecular level, cellular level, organism level. So DNA damage, cell death, be it apoptosis or necrosis, or acute radiation syndrome death, we need to understand and we need to develop a good repository of such kind of knowledge. Then only manned mission to space will be a possibility. So these are some of the things which we have at our IUAC with Swift heavy ion, in which we study the cluster DNA damage, in which the survival, the DNA damage, radiation effect modulation, which takes due to sensitization, and more importantly, how radiation protection or mitigation is possible. How adjuvants can play an important role if have been exposed to radiation, how we can make ourselves ready to be, we can say that we have become healthy after taking all those precautionary protections and also some of the adjuvants by taking meals, all that. The gene expression regulation, protein expression, cell death mechanism, these are all basic things which need to be studied, and that is whole gamut of study which requires young minds to join and to take some of the challenges for studying how this DNA repair can take place, how energetic changes and genomic instability can be put at hold. So these are some of the things which we can have. So I just give a glimpse what facilities we have. We have dedicated beamline of Pelletron for research in heavy ion radiation. Experimental system, we provide you mammalian cell. Sample condition, they can be grown as a monolayer in a tissue culture petri dish, which can be directly exposed in air. Irradiation condition is atmospheric pressure under aseptic environment, and many such things which I have already mentioned. And these are some of the areas you can pick. Every area is a mine. So we have to work very hard to get the importance known to all and how we can unveil the impact of heavy ions on life. So this is one part from research point of view. The other is in case of some kind of warfare, we should also be prepared to know and to mitigate such kind of situation in which high lead or the use of Bragg peak in treatment of cancer, the applications which are there, the heavy ions in space exploration, which I was talking about, how we can mitigate the cancer risk, cardiovascular disorder prevention, and cognitive impairment, which is there. Sometimes we say that when we fly, we are also exposed to a lot of radiation. So likewise, the areas which are there, which we can definitely pursue. So I'll be giving a very quick glimpse of what we do and how it can be helped. So you expose with the linear energy transfer, and then we also try to stabilize and also look at what the PARP inhibitor or olaparib gives the DNA damage, which can be stopping or surpassing the metastasis that is done by Kalyani University. Then instead of radiotherapy, can we go for other ionizing radiation, especially pions, protons, neutrons, alpha particles, and carbon ions. Carbon ions is becoming ideal in oxygen ion. So this is started long back in 1956 when this small child was treated with electron Linac. And if you happen to see in L.V. Prasad Eye Institute, lot of cases of small children, they come with retinoblastoma. The only cure is to remove the eyeball. So we can think of from the society perspective, the requirement of the people. That is also sometimes a motivator which help you to understand and also give importance how we can look at the direct and indirect route of breaking off the DNA double strand. And now people have started looking at the circular DNA, having no chance how we can enter into and modify the property of the DNA. We all know, being physicists, that there is a Bragg peak, very sharp Bragg peak as compared to X-rays. It has got a definite advantage if you have a proton beam or if you have carbon beam. So we all calculate the relative biological effectiveness. I'm not going to go into those details as compared to alpha and gamma X-rays, how we calculate the dose and how they are administered in terms of RBE and OER. So these are the lower ratio. For this is better, and for this it is higher. And you can always see that deep-seated tumor can only be treated with the hadron therapy, proton or carbon or oxygen, and you can only go for some kind of calculation by which you calculate the energy at which the depth is selected, and then you deliver entire energy at a selective depth, which is the way of treating the tumor, and this type of tumor which is in the brain can only be treated without any negative effect or contraindication if we have this kind of facility in our country. So this is one such facility we have where we have provided an opportunity to do irradiation of your cell lines in air. And this is inbuilt here in India at IUAC, and this is automatic sample positioning. This is Aspire, and this gives you an opportunity where the petri dishes on which this cells which are to be exposed to radiation are kept, and they are picked automatically. They are exposed, and then they are kept back without having any contamination. So a sterile environment is there. You take it to that place and then shine it with the radiation. And this uniformity is all explained with the help of this publication, in which we have demonstrated that the dose is kept uniform across the petri dish, and that is what is possible. So now, taking it to further for space missions, we are working with DRDO, where the toll-like receptors are being used with the MOS that enhances the cellular defense to ionizing radiation. So that is one part which we are doing, and then phyto radio protectors. So can we find something which protects ourselves from different kind of species of ions? That is also one area of research where a lot of work is to be done. So these are some of the findings. And then this is one which is supposed to be the radiation hardened one. It can absorb a lot of radiation. What are the importance of having this tardigrade is being studied, because they can go up to 5,000 gray to 6,000 gray for heavy ions, and then they survive. The only problem is that it is not that you give in one shot, or you give it gradually. If you do gradually, the body has a competing mechanism. So sometimes it starts repairing itself and you are damaging. So you cannot get the effect the way we measure in case of electronics. So that is one such area where Institute of Science has taken lead, and we are working with them. The other important thing, when you go to space, you need to have the crop which can be grown in a space station. And also, because of this, the last C which I mentioned, the climate change, we also look at the varieties which can grow in case of severe drought conditions or climate change conditions. So that is another area in which we can target some of the important food grains which has essential amino acids, isoflavones, protein, and trace elements that can survive against adversity, and that can be used for other uses. So I will conclude here, because I was told to be very brief and also save time for others. We are running late, so sorry for being very quick. So I can answer questions if you have. And in the meanwhile, you can see the rest of the part, how we prepare the sample and how it is placed before the ion radiation swift heavy ion in air. So, the chairman, sir, for your
Thank you very much, Professor Pandey. You have actually kept your talk well within time. That shows the way you manage things, actually. So if you have any questions, please raise your hand. Yes.
Yeah, online there is a question, Professor.
Dr. Aida?
Yeah, Chairman sir, this is online question. Sanjay Malhotra here.
So the first question, mammal, is the tardigrade bears, which I have shown. We have got our own species. Own species, man, nobody can claim that you are copying something. So Institute of Science Bangalore has come out with its own species, tardigrade bears. They are radiation hardened, and we have to understand why that particular mammal is ready to absorb that much of radiation. This is one part. The second thing is why for not alpha carbon. I showed you the Bragg peak. Bragg peak is very sharp. It passes through the body without getting attenuated. Whereas in case of X-ray, if you remember the slide which I showed, it starts getting attenuated while passing through the medium and then reaching a target. It has attenuated a lot. Whereas in case of any of the ion species which we have, especially carbon and oxygen, it goes as seamlessly without getting affected through the medium, provided you have tuned the energy so that it gets and it goes to the selected depth and deposit entire energy at one place. So if you wish to target a tumor, this is the only way by which you can eliminate without affecting the normal tissues. So the answer of the second question is this one.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Professor Pandit, this online question.
Excuse me, sir. I have a small question. In fact, it was a very interesting talk to see a lot of radiation biology studies are being carried out at IUSC Delhi. My question was that, especially you have mentioned about the space missions and the radiation damage which it can take place not only on the materials but on the human body. So my question is that, see, how do we simulate that space radiation studies in laboratory? Because I understand that the space radiation is of the order of TeV level, where high energy protons are entering and interacting with the body. But the energy which we have in the laboratory, it is maybe tens of MeV per AMU, or the largest one we have at Indus only, which is 2.5 G. So how do we simulate that exact? It is not only the dose, I think, which is important to that, but the type of radiation at this high energy. So how do you, comment on this?
So the first thing is that the real environment, the space environment, if you are going to mimic, it is made of several ingredients. It is not one beam which we have in our laboratory. For example, in our case, we can have one beam of something, and then we look at what is the effect of that beam. But I showed you one such example from NASA where 33 beams were taken into consideration, and these 33 beams together, then separately, they found that the synergistic effect of these 33 beams when they are used to expose the sample is different as compared to having 33 different types one by one. Coming to know what is the actual space environment, we all know that there is a Van Alphen magnetic field. Some radiation comes from sun, some radiation comes from extragalactic sources. So we have got enough evidences from different ways of measuring things. Like we have Chandra X-ray mission, which is looking only at X-ray emissions, which is coming from extragalactic sources. So we have got different ways in astronomy, astrophysics especially. We know that how much radiation and of what species we get. And accordingly, we have to make a rough estimate of that and then subject to our samples or the people who are going to be stationed at a space. So that is all like based on some of the evidences what we have. I have excluded some of the slides which have given some of the other studies in which different types of ion species, based on some evidences, we do use that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, namaste. Professor, this is a very nice talk. I just wanted to know that, yeah, targeted carbon.
Malhotra ji, namaste. I was expecting you here in RRCAT. Online?
No, I'm so sorry. I'm online. Sir, as you rightly pointed out, this targeted proton.
उनकी आवाज
targeted
नहीं आ रही।
या अभी आ रही है? Am I
अच्छा,
audible?
आवाज आ रही, बट
या अभी आ रही है आवाज? Okay, okay. I will type out the question then, sir. I was just wondering, besides
हाँ,
this
एक मिनट
targeted,
जरा ये माइक लगा दीजिए वहां पर। ओके, राइट राइट, श्योर।
Sir,
हाँ जी।
instead,
small inquiry. So, you have very nicely brought out the advantage of carbon therapy. So, you are addressing the issue of making carbon accelerators for medical therapy?
No.
Which part of it?
See, only for research. I started with my talk with accelerators for knowledge. So whatever data we are going to generate is to help the researchers. We are into developing small cyclotrons, 2 MeV, 1 MeV fixed energy cyclotron, so that they can be used for producing in a small quantity short-lived radioisotopes for the hospitals. That is one part which we are trying to develop. So we have succeeded in 1 MeV cyclotron, and we are going for the next step.
Yeah, so in continuation with that, see, right now we are having two therapy machines in India, if I am not mistaken. One is at Chennai and the other is at Mumbai. But both of them are proton accelerators. So we have the knowledge that carbon is probably better options, but everybody is still going for proton. So can you throw some light on that?
The only thing is that the cost inhibits for hadron therapy, because the gantry, which nowadays being used, is keeping the patient stationary and the ion source moves, which becomes a very sort of a complicated design. But now the next step would be to rotate the patient and keep the gantry fixed. So that will reduce cost. So people in Germany, they have started trying, and we are also we should also join hands to look at that part so that we can have some indigenization in that area. So only thing is that proton is not the ultimate. It will be carbon or oxygen to go for complete removal of tumor without affecting or without compromising the quality of life after person survives after the treatment. So I guess that should be, and then 2 machines are not sufficient. I have given that number, 3,300 patients, and people try calling outside India, मुझे कब समय मिलेगा? So paying capacity is there, people are willing, and also they are ready to pay, ready to move, but still they are not getting the opportunity. जी, अब कौन सा?
Sir, Sanjay Malhotra sir is asking about neutron therapy. Any research on neutron capture therapy?
Neutron capture, we signed one small document with the Takasev from Russia, Cotton University. Dr. Mohanty ji was also there in one such event there, but that could not. And then the ambassador of Russia, he also approached us. So that is called boron nitride therapy, in which neutrons can, first you have this boron nitride
that
attached
may
to
help.
the tumor cell and then bombarded with neutrons. So that is one possibility, but I have not moved forward. Still, we had several discussions with DST to fund that, so that that technology can be borrowed from that place.
What he is emphasizing is palliative versus curative care.
Palliative versus curative.
Curative care.
I'm not much to that. I cannot answer that question.
Maybe we can discuss these things
Yeah,
in
sure.
detail
Yes.
later.
Yes.
Dr. Pandit's talk has generated a lot of interest among the scientists and engineers here. Let us thank Dr. Pandey for a excellent talk. Now a memento will be presented in appreciation of this delivering such a nice talk. Professor Pandey. The next talk is on the development of high intensity proton Linac status and way forward by Dr. Rajesh Kumar. Okay, ठीक. Dr. Rajesh Kumar is BTech from NIT Hamirpur. Then he is a MTech from IIT Kanpur. Has been involved in this project, and recently they got very good result. So I will request Dr. Rajesh Kumar to deliver his talk and share what is the recent development. This is a very important activity of DAE, which will ultimately lead us to develop 1 GeV accelerator for our accelerator-driven subcritical systems program. So let us, without taking much of your time, I request Dr. Rajesh Kumar to start his talk.
Good afternoon. First of all, thanks to the organizers for giving me this opportunity to speak on the topic of development of high intensity proton accelerators. Also for streaming these proceedings online, because many of our senior colleagues could not attend the conference because of recent austerity measures. So well, with this, I move on to my presentation. Yeah, so this is the plan of the talk. I will start with the need for high intensity proton accelerators and then discuss briefly about the commissioning experiences of LEHIPA, low energy high intensity proton accelerator. Then move on to the technologies which were developed during this journey and the present status of LEHIPA utilization. Then what is the way forward, particularly the LEHIPA phase 1, which we are proposing. And what are the technical challenges which are still there to be overcome? And then I will conclude. Yeah, so this, all of us know that this is a roadmap for 1 GB proton Linac right now. Up to 10 or 20 MeV, 20 MeV we have already demonstrated. So for future, we will have 10 MeV Worms accelerator, followed by superconducting accelerator up to 1 GB. So different variety of resonators will be used during this process. So as we know, there will be several applications apart from our main application of ADS, which is our end goal. The waste transmutation and waste incineration will also be a part of that. And other studies like as spallation neutron source, RIB and radioisotope production can be done on the way. Apart from that, as we move on to 100 gigawatt target, so obviously we will be generating a lot of radioactive waste, and that may need to be treated or we need to utilize it for energy production. Well, so this is the schematic of LEHIPA. Starting with the ECR ion source of 50 kV, we use a low energy beam transport system consisting of different diagnostic elements and focusing elements. Then radio frequency quadrupole cavities. So all these structures work at 352 megahertz, followed by a buncher in the medium energy beam transport system and the drift tube Linac. All these structures require very large amount of RF power. So 3 klystrons are feeding this power. So this is the brief timeline. The project, this basically activity started in 2001 after we commissioned FOTIA, folded and tandem ion accelerator, which is right now working in round the clock shifts. And in fact, now we have dedicated it to the industry also for boron analysis using PIG technique, and about I think 40 to 50 lakh revenue also is generated. But mostly it is dedicated to the R&D purpose. After that, in dedicating it to the nation, after 2001, we started moving towards the RF linear accelerators. So starting with the Dr. Kapoor's committee, and then pre-project activities were initiated in 2003. And up to 2010, R&D was done in different areas. For example, the radio frequency cavities, beam dynamics designs, RF components. And finally, the project was sanctioned in 2010. And in between, we started with the development of a 400 kV radio frequency quadrupole accelerator, because that was required for the DT reactions. Though our accelerator, actual accelerator required 3 MBB RFQ, that we completed parallelly in 2014. And this was the time when the common facility building was handed over to us. All our other subsystems, for example, the ECR ion source and LEVT systems were ready, and we started moving those things to the common facility building. 1.2 MeV acceleration we achieved in 2015, and there after that there was fairly a long gap of about 3.5 years to achieve 3 MeV. So that I will discuss briefly, and after that we can see some delays because of COVID, and then 6.8 MeV we achieved in February 22. After that it was fairly quick process up to 11 MeV. After 11 MeV we integrated tanks 3 and 4 in one shot, and finally we accelerated the beam to 20 MeV. There were delays related to regulated high voltage power supply, which was very technically challenging job, was done under collaboration with IPR and ECIL and different divisions of BRC, including CNID. In between, RRCAT gave us the pulse modulator, which was very stable, and we accelerated the 3 MeV beam with that, and still we are running with that stable pulse modulator that will be replaced with the regulated high voltage power supply in future. So the power supplies number 2 and 3, which are 100 kilovolt, 20 ampere, they are working very fine within required stability of 1%. Well, so as we are aware that in a linear accelerator, there are different technologies which are required, starting not only from the physics design, ECR ion source, which was in-house built in BRC only, then RFQ, DTLs, high voltage power supplies, couplers, low level RF, diagnostic systems, other high power components and subsystems, interlock systems, LCW system, all were done inside BRC or under collaboration with the other units. Well, so this ion source is regularly delivering us 10 milliampere of beam and has been extensively characterized. So right now we have 3 ion sources. One is 3 electrode, other is 5 electrode. Both are in the lab at Vendigraph. And another one is a 3 electrode system, which is working in the Lehi tunnel. So one of them is ready to be shipped to Vizag whenever we need it. Well, followed by radio frequency quadrupoles. Here the challenge comes from machining, some micron finishes, and within hundreds of microns, we have to achieve the tolerances post-brazing actually. That is a challenge. There are more than hundreds of braze joints. Even if one joint fails, then the job doesn't work properly because it has to work under ultra-high vacuum. So here about 520, 530 kilowatt RF power is required to accelerate the beam. Again, drift tube Linac was another challenge, consisting of a large tank which needs to be copper plated uniformly, as well as apart from this, there are permanent magnets which are to be housed inside this copper disc. So here we cannot go for this brazing, regular furnace brazing, because temperature cannot be raised beyond a point. So laser welding technique was developed, and many vendors were developed independently by IADD and ACND. The RF couplers were also developed. Again, here the challenge comes from tight tolerances on the iris, which is only 1.5 mm, and the 250 kilowatt power has to pass through that. Again, it is a braze structure. Initially, we tried with the aluminum, benchmarked them, and finally we moved on to the copper-based couplers, which are water-cooled. They are working fine right now. All sort of beam diagnostics required for these high-intensity proton accelerators has been developed and are or either in the final stages of testing. For example, Faraday curves, position monitors, fast Faraday curves have already been tested. Wall current monitor we have recently tested with the 20 MeV beam. As I discussed, this was a really tough challenge. This power supply basically is fed with two transformers, each having 1:48 secondaries. Total 96 modules are added up, in series to obtain 100 kilovolt, and less than 10 joule should be dissipated on the klystron. So all the testing was done in the lab, and finally these power supplies are working properly. This was also a big job. 3 klystrons, which were some of them given by CERN, came through RRCAT, and this was a collaborative work. And then our team from AC&D installed all these high voltage structures, klystrons, and RF distribution system. Low level RF system is working fine right now for the single resonators as well as DTLs, and we have done many studies on that also. And protection systems, they were also delivered to Fermilab, and they are working fine there as well. So this is the final view of Lehipa tunnel. We can see, so this part, yeah, ion source is that side, so beam is transported like this. And ion source is here and beam goes there, and this is the exit of the tunnel. So we did the initial experiments with the, time of flight technique. So two FCTs, fast current transformers, are placed at a known distance and we measure the time. Right now, the beam accelerated is 2 milliamperes. And eventually we will increase the injected current, and we are working on improving the transmission also. Up to 11 MeV, we got more than 90%. Right now, we are getting around 40%, and we have actually tried to know why it is less. And more or less, we know the reasons. So I will explain that part shortly. And finally, it was we got the 20 MeV beam on 4th August, and we can see most of my colleagues here with Chairman DAE and Dr. Krishnan Gopal. So right now, we are working with very modest parameters because the old hardware, including klystrons, are not working very suboptimally. So our beam current right now is around 30-40 nanoampere, which can be easily increased with the same hardware to around, say, 100-200 nanoampere, not more than that. So until unless we replace the klystrons and the modulator, we cannot go to, say, hundreds of 200s of microamperes or milliamperes average current. Well, this slide shows the operational hours. Right now, it is more than 1,000 hours for this year and 1,800 hours for the previous years. But here I have tried to list the problems which we have faced during last 1.5 years, which we have tried to overcome. After commissioning, we started doing experiments with the surface barrier detectors for measuring the energy. And because being a highly noisy area from RF point of view, the surface barrier detectors are very sensitive. They are to be put in separate rooms, but because right now we are doing in the same tunnel, so they were picking noise, and there were some leaky loads which we needed to rectify, replace with coaxial loads, and some of them be plugged, shielded with metal blocks. We worked on doing the detailed measurements on amplitude and phase stability of the systems. RFQ, DTL, these bunchers, we got very good stabilities. DTLs, because two independent resonators are fed, if the frequencies are not very close, then there will be a normal offset. Because of that, there may be a 3-4 degree, plus minus 3-4 degree of variation, but which I was discussing with Dr. Joshi yesterday, which can be brought even closer. So that we are working on that. So similarly, we are working on water-cooled DTL, because right now we have not injected water to DTLs because we are not working on high CW power right now. So we are integrating those lines, and because frequency sensitivity of DTLs is very high, the quality factor being more than 30,000, around 33, 34,000. So that part we are studying before we move on to MEIPA. The important challenge is maintaining the spare parts and tackling this aging hardware. So most of these needs to be either replaced or we have to keep the inventory to increase the availability of the accelerator. Well, now I will discuss briefly the plans for the utilization. Here we have added one doublet here to better focus the beam and develop some more chambers. One chamber which we have developed is that can take 500, 400 degree centigrade samples also for irradiation. This experiment was done with 3 MeV beam by materials group, and this paper was published. So basically, right now we have done only irradiation experiments and trying to do some scattering experiments. But in future, as discussed with the reactor physics division, some subcriticality experiments can be done. So we explored taking the beam to the nearby subcritical, this critical facility, but that was not feasible. Another possibility is putting small system inside the experimental areas, which we are exploring right now. Another possibility is the RIB beam can be taken through a gas jet to another room. That also we are discussing with the nuclear physics division. So this is our plan. Right now, we are working only in here, somewhere here. So we have to transport this beam to the beam dump area room and experimental rooms. So all these plans are ready. We have done the required beam physics and design of the components, and indenting and all will start soon. But right now we are doing in the DTL area only. So several experiments are proposed. We have had a few meetings with the different users inside BRC, and we are getting requests from outside units also. We are working on the target part right now. Well, so based on this experience, now I will start with our future program, as I discussed in the beginning. So right now we are proposing a 40 MeV accelerator which will come at BiJAG. Initial part up to 10 MeV will be warm, and then followed by SSRV, superconducting single spoke resonators. So 2 cry modules will be required here. So we are working parallelly on the development of all these. For one part, only difference will be the change in the frequency. From 352 megahertz, we will go to 325 megahertz. Well, so we have started the pre-project activities. We have basically already the land is allocated there for 1 GeV accelerator. And we have got MOF clearance for full 1 GeV, the siting clearance. Parallelly, the structural drawings of 2 test facilities, superconducting RF facility for processing, as well as Linac test facility for worn structures. Structural drawings are ready. Total 8-9 buildings, overall accelerator complex layout is completed, and radiation analysis of the buildings where radiation is possible is completed. And the first draft of Linac, this tunnel, is going through the review. Documentation for stage 2 we are preparing right now, and designs are in very advanced stages. Most of them are completed, and some of them are in review stages. Well, this is the zone 3, which is earmarked for the ADS area, and accelerator will come up here. So this is slightly old accelerator layout, but well, large amount of land is allocated here. So our accelerator complex, which will consist of a 40 MeV proton accelerator, 30 MeV electron accelerator, and SUBIR facility, stable unstable beam for heavy ion research, mainly RIB facilities will be coming up in this complex. So 30 MeV accelerator project is already approved. So site, some work they have already started there. And our projects are in final stages of approval right now. So this part I will just display, but there is a talk by Dr. Saravan on Fermilab collaboration. Here we are working on all aspects of the superconducting part. So basically our future accelerator will be a DA project. like RRCAT, VCC, and even IUAC will be contributing to this our long-term ambitious plan. So starting with the spoke resonators, we have already developed, IUAC developed these spoke resonators. And then these were jacketed in CDM, and RF characterization was done by our division there. So finally, they were sent to Fermilab, and they have worked well there. So now we have confidence that we can make for our accelerator. Right now, CDM is working for further construction phase deliverables of Fermilab. Similarly, amplifiers of 7 kilowatt, 20 kilowatt, for 325 and 40 and 70 kilowatt for 650 megahertz are being made at BRC and RRCAT. So,
Dr. Rajesh Kumar, you have only 2 minutes.
okay, sir. Yeah. So I will go through quickly. Then magnet technology is also developed. I will just briefly explain about the challenges remaining actually, because we have already done these things. But for ion source, we need to increase the current more than 10 milliampere because we have to take care of the transmission. So those things are going on. Similarly, RFQ, we have to increase the quality factor from right now 6,000 to around 7,000 plus. So we have proposed some changes here by flushing the tuners. Similarly, we are studying the frequency detuning behavior because this is very sensitive to the frequency effects. So as I told, so there are many posters for almost all these activities from my colleagues here. So here this beam filter is designed and already characterized here. So we are studying and optimizing our ion sources. One is ECR and there is a multicast ion source. Both are being optimized. As I discussed, all the electronics has been developed and only red part is remaining, some parts of the electronics, and the cold BPMs is the pending part. Then very innovative, this instrument we have made is the retarding field analyzer for space, this charge compensation studies in LIPA. So these, there will be posters and talks on this instrument also. We have done characterization of multicast ion source with argon and hydrogen plasma right now. We will be doing this on LIPA as well. But LIPA, we have done space charge compensations and we noticed improvement of more than 15% in the transmission. We can see beam become narrower and narrower as we inject the gas into this. We have carried out electromechanical modeling of the superconducting cavities, which will be helpful in designing the control electronics. So there will be posters on this as well. So this is our overall layout, but I want to highlight one point that because Fermilab accelerator is 2 milliampere and our accelerator is 10 milliampere, straightway we will need 5 times more RF power. All RF couplers should be designed for that. So for example, couplers will 50 kilowatt, 100, 200 kilowatt and 350. Similarly, the RF amplifier should also be of that type. So for that, we have already set up this test bench and couplers are already designed for MEHIPA as well as we are making it for Fermilab also. So this is a resonant ring based test setup, which we have tested up to 130 kilowatt and we got around 30 times power gain here. With couplers, we expect around 7 to 8 times gain. These two 325 megahertz couplers are ready in the factory. These will be brought except the last cycle of brazing here. So then these will be shipped to Fermilab. Two 650 megahertz couplers are ready. Now after bellow plating, they will be shipped to Fermilab. Again, we have developed a standing wave resonator type of setup based on the Fermilab design for 650 couplers. Well, so we have developed our own RF power monitoring system, which is very less, economical as compared to commercial systems. So right now 8 channel, we will be expanding it. So these slides are from, cryogenics division. So for superconducting this RF processing facility, we will need 80 watt of RF power. So existing technologies of liquid helium plant for this 100 liters per hour will be sufficient with the 2K cold box, which will be upgraded to 80 watt. And I will not go through these in details. So there will be talks from cryogenics also. So this is the plan for overall system. So our cryogenic technology division is planning for 500 watt. So though we will need around 180 watt here. So a lot of beam optimization studies and beam loss studies are being carried out to contain the beam and avoid the resonances and beam envelope instabilities. Similarly, a lot of error analysis studies have been done to define the tolerances on different structures and the optimization. Well, so this is our final accelerator, as I have already explained, around 250 meter long. So this will need, 1 GB accelerator will need 29 cryo modules. So if every year we put 2 cryo modules, then it should take roughly 14 years. So that is what the target we have given by 2047 or by 2040, we should have 1 GB accelerator. Yeah, so I would like to conclude now that 20 MeV, though it was a big milestone, the peak current can easily be increased to 5 milliampere, but the CW, we have to work towards that. Many technologies we have learned, indigenous, many companies were established for these technologies within India. And now with Fermilab's collaboration, we are expecting that we will be able to complete 40 MeV accelerator in much lesser time based on our experiences. With this, I conclude my talk. Thanks a lot.
I think we are already falling short of time. Your talk is very interesting. I know it's of interest to everyone. But may I ask that what is the timeline for attaining that 1 GeV and the required current? Any?
Yeah. So by 2044, we should be having 1 GB, but provided we have a DAE collaboration. Like this for 40 MeV, we have 7 years timeline. So by 2032, and then parallelly, if we have parallel development of the resonators, which RRCAT is already making, then we will be able to reduce the timeline. Like 2032 to 38, 35, we can go to 200 MeV and beyond. So up to 200 MeV, all the structures BRC is making. Then RRCAT and VCC, they are making 650 megahertz structures beyond 200 MeV. So we should have, I think, parallel type of projects. Then those structures can be taken to Vizag and placed there.
I think we need to expedite this project because this is a project of great relevance to Department of Atomic Energy. And thank you very much for very interesting talk and presenting. I know this problem is very challenging when you go to high current, etc. So thank you. Let us thank Dr. Rajesh Kumar. I will present a memento to Dr. Rajesh Kumar in appreciation of our gratitude to him.
There is an important announcement. After this technical session, we will have group photograph outside the building on the stairs. All the participants are requested to join there after the technical session. Thank you.
Next talk is also connected to the second talk. This is advances in PIP.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
To project and Indian institutions and Fermilab collaboration. We have a distinguished guest from Fermilab to deliver this talk, Dr. Sarvan K. Chandrasekharan. He is PhD in mechanical engineering and has a very wide experience in this area of accelerator and more than 50 articles to his credit. Now, without taking much of your time, I request Dr. Chandrasekharan to start his talk.
Thank you very much. First off, I want to just thank the organizers for giving us this nice opportunity to come and talk about the IIFC and the Indian collaboration, which we already are benefiting quite a lot. So Is everything okay? Can you hear me? Is this any better? Okay. We're gonna have to stand here. Just a minute. Okay, thank you. This is, thank you. I was mentioning that, I thank the organizers for giving us this opportunity to talk about the IFC collaboration as well as the PIP-II project, where we already are benefiting quite a lot from the contributions that India is making. What you see over here is the first large in-kind contribution from India. And in fact, this is the single largest component that any partner is providing towards PIP-II. This is the cold box that will be powering the cryo plant and therefore powering and keeping us cold, the whole superconducting Linac. It made its way from a storage facility or a storage site temporarily at Fermilab on a very, very cold day in Chicago quite recently. And we basically took the opportunity to take a picture of it while it was passing in front of the iconic Wilson Hall of Fermilab. So what will PIP-II do is it is part of the larger accelerator upgrade program for Fermilab, where we will be having an experiment called the DUNE, or the Deep Underground Neutrino Experiment, with detectors being present 1,300 kilometers away from Fermilab in South Dakota, as well as a near detector to characterize the neutrinos across this distance. PIP-II is the accelerator that will generate the proton beam that is required to create the neutrinos for our program. This is an artistic rendition that was generated a few years ago of what eventually will look like at Fermilab. So on the left side over here is the newer structure. Everything is ground up in a fresh site, green site in a way, where we will house the superconducting RF Linac, have a new transfer line, and then tie in to existing facilities of the booster and the main injector with the proton beam. The goal is to have a linear accelerator on site that will provide a very reliable and capable source that can also be utilized for other opportunities beyond DUNE as well eventually. This is a picture of the site from last week. You can see that there has been quite a lot of progress from ground up. We already have the cryogenic plant building up and running, and it actually has been handed over from the PIP-II project to Fermilab for operations now. This is where the DAE contributed cryo plant is residing at this point. We also have the excavation fully done for the Linac. So this is what's called a dig and backfill. So they dig a trench, they build a tunnel, and then they backfill the dirt back in. So where it stands right now is that the full excavation is done, the floor slab is complete, side walls are coming up. So it's very, very soon this is expected to be completed as well. We also have the high bay that's up and running now, and we expect that to get completed quite soon as well. The RF gallery, which will house all of the amplifiers that India will provide, will essentially be on the right side of the Linac tunnel. I take a moment over here to give you an idea of what the timeline looks like for the PIP-II project overall. I do know that not everything is legible, but trust me that you can zoom in on your devices later on to see more clarity. One of the items I did want to point out is that the calendar scale on the top is basically quarters in US fiscal years. The fiscal year 2025 for the US system starts in October of 24 and ends in September of 25. So as I was mentioning before, we are currently in the phase of constructing the tunnel. This is expected to be completed in this calendar year, followed by the RF gallery being completed in 2027. We already are installing the cryo plant, and that is expected to be commissioned in 2026. And we'll have cryo modules getting developed, including the ones from India, over the next several years. And the last of the cryo modules is expected to be ready for Linac installation by 2029. And the reason why is because we essentially are starting our beam commissioning activities in 2028 and completing those in 2029. So by about September 2029, our goal is to complete the entire project, fully commissioned, handed over to the scientific community at Fermilab. As Rajesh just showed you before, this is an illustration of the PIP-II project overall, with in-kind contributions also being shown over here with the different flags. So I want to mention that PIP-II is the first particle accelerator project in the United States that has major in-kind contributions from the international community. It's always been the other way around. Fermilab typically gives in-kind contributions, from DOE or the US to other countries. So this is the first time we're receiving things. So we are also learning how to manage these large collaborations and be the host institution rather than the contributors. As you might have already observed, the Indian flag is plastered all over this slide. And that's because we have a very close collaboration through IIFC, or the Indian Institutions and Fermilab collaboration, to mutually develop the technologies that are required for this full accelerator. I'll mention here very quickly that the last about 5 years or so has not been easy for any of us, including Fermilab, and all of our other partners have had impacts, significant impacts, I will say, because of COVID-19, because of inflation, supply chain issues. Fortunately, we have stuck together and come across to the other side with good support from our individual funding agencies to essentially deliver the entire scope. So now I'll give you some updates of where we are with the entire project, including the in-kind contributions from India. So what I will do is I will walk you from the farthest location away from the Linac, and then we'll go underground, virtually speaking. So on the cryo plant front, again, we are very grateful to India for contributing the cryo plant. Right now, these have already arrived at Fermilab after several years of oversight by our very capable and expert colleagues at BARC. And these right now reside in the cryo plant building that we talked about a little before. Again, installation is ongoing right now. In fact, we have 2 colleagues from India that we are hosting as part of this program. And we anticipate that with the BARC team's help, we will be able to commission the entire cryo plant by the summer of 2026. So roughly about a year and a half from now. The cryo plant has a very interesting story in terms of a journey of itself. So, somewhere here, away from the slide in Mumbai was where the contracts were signed for this cryo plant. I want to say somewhere around 2019, 2020 timeframe. Please don't quote me on that. Thereafter, all of it was being manufactured in Europe. It made its journey in 2 different phases. The compressors came from the United Kingdom, where the vendor is based, to New York, and then made a road trip over to Chicago, while the cold box essentially started from France and then made its way to the port of New Orleans, where it was transferred over to a river barge. And it's too big to come by road, so it basically came up the Mississippi River very close to Chicago, and thereafter we had to have it come over by road. Next, we'll walk across the Linac a little bit, so still staying over ground, and we've not gone underground yet, to the amplifiers. So on the amplifiers and controls, we essentially have a lot of development that has happened thanks to our colleagues both at BARC as well as RCAT. The teams have developed the design, have prototype components, have prototype full amplifiers, and have gone through very, as I understand it, very rigorous design review processes, like through the DRC over here, and complemented with a final design review at Fermilab. So I'm happy to say that the collaboration basically is at a stage where all 4 flavors of amplifiers are past the final design reviews. And we are very fortunate to have received prototypes, which are now powering our cryo module test facility for both flavors, so 325 megahertz as well as the 650 megahertz. And obviously, we are very eager to receive the production amplifiers, to install them, commission them, and put them to use for generating protons or accelerating protons and generating neutrinos. On the resonance control side, again, a lot of progress over the years. And quite recently, in fact, about a month ago, I want to say, we had the LLRF system that was shipped by BARC maybe about a year ago, along with help from 2 of the BARC colleagues at Fermilab. The system was tested successfully, not just on a test bench using the cavity emulator, but also directly controlling an SSR2 cavity in a spoke test cryostat. So this is a great accomplishment as well. So thank you and congratulations to you on this. Now we'll make our way into the underground and on the front end of the Linac. So on the normal conducting side, we essentially had a program called a PIP-II IT, or the PIP-II integrated test facility. The goal over there was to validate the entire warm front end of the Linac much ahead of time, therefore reducing risk for the entire project. This also included one of the 2 spoke resonator cryo modules, or the SSR1, as well as the half-wave resonator cryo module. Overall, it was a success because we were able to accelerate the beam to the required parameters. There were certainly things that we learned along the way that requires some rework of, especially on both of the cryo modules. But those are great examples of how risk was mitigated by the collaboration, by doing things ahead of time rather than finding out when we actually need to go and install it. From BARC, we essentially validated all of the magnets that are being used in the warm front end, all the 7 kilowatt SSAs that we just talked about to power the SSR1 cryo module, as well as having the SSR1 cavity that was manufactured by a collaboration between BARC and IUAC, also being validated in this cryo module. So the last section, which is the cryo modules for the superconducting RF Linac, we've had a lot of progress on the superconducting RF structures. I shouldn't say only superconducting RF, but generally superconducting structures, including the solenoids. So all flavors of the cavities within the PIP-II collaboration. So this is not only with the collaboration with India, but also with the wider community. All of these are mature. They have been validated using prototypes and now pretty much are in the production phase. I just want to very gently remind you, at least the terminology that we use in the PIP-II world is that the dressed cavity includes the jacketed cavity, like this one over here, the tuner to control and tune the frequency, and the coupler that you just heard from Rajesh a little while ago. So we've had the opportunity to integrate the DAE provided cavities in the cryo modules now. Both of our, I'll show you on the next slide about the prototype cryo modules, but these have been integrated in there already now, validating everything in terms of the process, the fabrication, and the qualification. And we know that there are still activities going on at this time for the low beta cavity as well as the SSR2, which will then close this entire loop for us. On the solenoids, Kumud and team have been progressing very well. On the Fermilab side, we made a few updates to our requirements based on what we have been learning with the prototype cryo modules. And the team basically are doing their level best right now to adapt to those requirements and optimize the solenoids in time for us to utilize them for the cryo modules. So overall, a lot of progress, colleagues, over the entire range, including on the cryo module front. So the green check boxes basically mean that we've already validated them through prototypes. So that's where we are. As I mentioned before, the SSR1 cryo module has one of the SSR1 cavities, and the high beta cryo module has actually 3 of the RRCAD fabricated high beta cavities. And we are currently in the phase of prototyping the low beta and the SSR2 cryo module at this point. And that was a strategic methodology as well for the validation. None of this would have been possible without exchange of personnel, which allows us to very openly and freely discuss the technology, as well as advance our knowledge and insights. There was a roughly 3-year period, if my memory is right, where we did not have any visitor program going on because of COVID-19. But we're very, very happy that that hiatus has ended and we've resumed in-person participation. So over the last year itself, we've had 6-7 visitors that have been here or been at Fermilab. And so I'm not showing you pictures of the visitors from before, so I do apologize. Please don't get mad at me, but we have pictures of all of you that have arrived at Fermilab. So we're very happy that this is moving forward. So we appreciate the support that management is providing to enable this to happen. And this is from Monday. So we have Naveen and Mohan from the cryo team at BARC, giving you a good idea of how big the cold box is in relation to both of them that you probably see on a more regular basis. So with that, I summarize that we've had we've had a very synergistic collaboration between India and the US. And we've been really fortunate that the IIFC collaboration is going strong at this point. As Rajesh has also mentioned, it has led to the development of technology across the board, not just in the US, but clearly here in India as well for utilization on PIP-II on accelerators in general. From the overall collaboration perspective for the PIP-II project, it's very mature, and we are basically moving into the production phase at this point, with all of the partners making good progress and doing their level best to keep us on track to deliver our project to the scientific community in 2029. Once again, happy that the visitor program has resumed to allow us continued collaboration and mutual development. And the way at least I see it and we see it is PIP-II success is dependent on and is representative of IIFC's success and vice versa. So with that, thank you again. Thank you, DAE. Thank you, India, for the contribution and the opportunity to collaborate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chandrasekharan, for apprising us of what is going on in this collaboration.
Yeah.
So it's very encouraging to hear about what we have said.
Yes, no questions is good.
Yeah, just a minute.
Yeah.
So as a token of our appreciation, we would like to present a memento to you. Please.
That is a wonderful question. I will be very, very brutally honest. I am not a physicist, and I'm not going to try to pretend to be one. I will put you in touch with somebody that can actually answer your question more knowledgeably than me. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
Now the next talk is by Dr. Vineet Kumar, design of 500 MeV injector electron Linac for the proposed industry. Dr. Vineet Kumar is an alumni of BRC Training School, a recipient of Baba Prize BRC Training School, and has done his PhD and very wide-ranging experience in beam physics, free electron laser, and now in development of linear accelerator. It's very interesting to hear Dr. Vineet Kumar, expert.
Thank you, sir. I would first like to thank the organizers for inviting me to deliver this talk. As you are all aware, at RRCAD, the preparations have been going on for quite some time to have the high brilliance synchrotron radiation source industry, which has got intensified in last couple of years. And Dr. Mangesh Borge will give a detailed talk on the industry proposed project on the day 3. So in this talk, I'll be discussing about the injector Linac for industry. So we have been working on it for quite some time and presented the designs in previous InPACs. But in last couple of years, that has progressed. Earlier, we had designed a 200 MeV Linac, and based on some recent design updates and more calculations, it was decided that we will need 500 MeV injector Linac. And then all our physics design is being converted to a practical design for which a Linac task force has been there since last year. So in this talk, I am going to discuss the progress on that front, changing the design from 200 MeV to 500 MeV and the progress which has taken place in terms of converting into the practical design. So this is the plan of the talk. So I'll start with a brief introduction, where I will try to explain how the design specifications of the Linac are driven. Then the layout of the injector Linac, and then some details about the design of the RF structures, electron gun, electron filter, the energy filtering system, then end-to-end beam dynamic studies, and finally I'll summarize and present the future plans. So this slide shows a hand sketch of how the industry will look like. So there will be a injector Linac which will inject the beam to the booster ring. From 500 MeV, that will be ramped to 6 GeV, and then from the booster, it will go to the storage link. So the booster is around 916 meters. So the revolution time for the beam is around 3 microseconds. And then when you extract, the extraction kicker will have a rise time of around 2 microseconds. So you are left with just 1 microsecond to fill in the booster. And the total number, I mean, the revolution time is already given 3 microseconds, and there will be 1500 buckets. So 2 microseconds is required for extraction kicker, so only 1 microsecond is remaining. So out of the 1500, only 500 buckets will be filled. So you need to inject 500 pulses from the Linac into the ring. And if you want 1 milliampere kind of current in the booster, 3 microsecond is the revolution time, so it will be around 3 nanocoulomb will be required in the booster. And assuming some 30% kind of injection efficiency from the Linac to finally into the booster. So you need 10 nanocoulomb of charge from the Linac. So 10 nanocoulomb in 500 pulses, so it is something like 20 picocoulomb in each bunch, repeating after every 2 nanoseconds. So this is the kind of pulse structure which is expected from the Linac, 20 picocoulomb per micropulse. And then based on the design studies in the injection studies, they have come up with this requirement. The RMS energy spread should be better than 0.5%. And the emittance should be better than normalized RMS emittance should be better than 30 millimeter millirad. So this is the specs with which the Linac has been designed. And the beam energy, as I said, has been currently increased from 200 MeV to 500 MeV. That is because at 200 MeV, the required tolerances on the power supply tracking gears they were tighter. And also the single bunch instability was studied, and the threshold was actually lower for the lower energy. So keeping all these things in mind, it was decided that the energy will be increased from 200 MeV to 500 MeV. And the storage ring will operate in another mode also, high resolution mode, where you'll have pulses separated by 190 nanosecond or 760 nanosecond, but that will have high charge. And so there will be different modes in the high resolution mode. For example, mode 1 will have only 4 bunches filled. So the Linac is supposed to deliver bunches where the pattern can be changed from 500 pulses to 4 pulses separated by 190 nanosecond, or 2 pulses separated by 760 nanosecond, and also the single bunch mode. And here the total charge which is required is 1 nanocoulomb. So the current in the booster will be very small for this. So this slide compares how these specs compare to the injector Linac of the contemporary machines, the 4th generation light sources. So if you look at the Max 4, they inject total 0.9 nanocoulomb charge at 2 Hertz. They have 30 picocoulomb and then repeating at 3 gigahertz and 3 pulses. And then that is repeating at 100 megahertz, that means 10 nanosecond into 30 nanosecond kind of thing. And for the other machines like ESRF, it is 25 nanocoulomb at 1 Hertz and 0.5 nanocoulomb at 10 Hertz. So they also have different modes. APS has 50 nanocoulomb at 40 Hertz. HEPS, which is actually under construction, they have 2 modes, 7 nanocoulomb at 50 Hertz, and the another mode where they have 3 bunches, 7 by 3 nanocoulomb, repeating at around 500 megahertz. And here for industry, we are talking about 20, or recently it was mentioned that it will be better if the current is increased to twice. So 20 or 40 picocoulomb at this is 499, I'm sorry, 499.75 megahertz, 500 bunches, or in the single bunch mode, 10 or 20 nanocoulomb at 1 Hertz. So this is the schematic, the layout. So we'll have a 90 kV electron gun, and there will be a subharmonic pre-buncher of 499.75 megahertz that will bunch the 1 nanosecond to around 70 picosecond kind of RMS. And then that will be injected to a traveling wave constant impedance type buncher section, and where the energy will be increased to around 50 MeV. And then there will be several of these traveling wave constant gradient accelerating structures, each 3.8 meter long, which will increase the energy from 50 MeV to 500 MeV. There will be 9 of them here, and this is one, so total 10 structures. And as I mentioned, the requirement on the energy spread is tight. It should have 0.5% RMS energy spread. So for that, there will be energy filter system, which will filter out all the electrons which are outside this energy range. And then that beam will be injected to the booster. And if you compare with the configuration which is followed by the contemporary machines, Max 4 has, it is actually a full energy Linac, and they use a thermionic RF gun 4 MeV. And they also use traveling wave structures, but the constant impedance type. And they have 39 numbers of these structures, and that goes to 3 GeV. ESRF has 200 MeV, and they have 2 structures, 6 meter long. Again, constant traveling wave, but constant gradient type. APS has 13 number of these traveling wave structures, constant gradient type. HEPS has 8 number of these structures, again, constant gradient traveling wave type. So you see that all these Linacs are of traveling wave type, and most of them are constant gradient. Constant gradient means that the accelerating gradient in the absence of beam is remaining constant throughout the structure. That is little more complicated compared to the constant impedance. That gives you better conversion efficiency from RF power to beam power. It produces less heat. And so we are also going to develop these constant gradient traveling wave type Linacs for the injector Linac. There will be several transport lines. So this is the subharmonic pre-buncher to the first traveling wave buncher. You'll have solenoids, and then the diagnostic elements are also shown here. Then again from the traveling wave, there will be traveling wave buncher here and traveling wave buncher to the accelerating section 1. There will be this transport line, the length is given. And after that, the transport lines from the accelerating section structure 1 to 2, that will be repeated. Identical transport lines will be there. And then finally, after the 500 MeV, this is the transport line which will take the beam from the Linac to the energy filtering system. These are some of the parameters which are given. And all these magnets, they have been designed, and it has been converted to engineering design, and the physics design has been again done, taking all these engineering considerations into account. So these are the solenoids which are required in the low energy, I mean after the 90 kV gun. This is the first accelerating section and the second accelerating, I mean buncher and the accelerating section 1. They have this requirement of the magnetic field to keep the beam focused, and that also has been designed, which is the designed and required field, they are sort of overlapping with each other. This has been designed by Subrat from AMTD. And there is a poster also by him, so one can go and visit the poster. I forgot to mention that the design which I am presenting here, that is actually, there is a poster by Parul Arora, so you can visit this poster also today itself. So after all that, the entire thing has been, after having all the magnet designs done and the other elements, the structure designs done, we have prepared the engineering layout, which is done by UHBTS. And this is shown here. So the entire Linac is around 70 meter long. So this is the LEVT, the buncher section, then the accelerating structure 1, and then that is repeating 2 to 10. And these are the transport lines, and this is the energy filter magnet. And based on that, the building layout also has been prepared by our CSD team. And this slide shows the around 80 meter long Linac tunnel with all the equipment gallery, etc. that is designed and shown here. So now coming to, so this is kind of Linac which will be developed for the first time in the country. 500 MeV Linac we don't have. So what are the things which go on, and what kind of preparations are needed? And where are we in terms of the experience? So as I mentioned that we will need this constant gradient traveling wave type accelerating structure. And we have experience on this while working on the development of the 9.5 MeV 15 kilowatt industrial Linac at RRCAT recently. Only last year, we designed it, and it was successfully built under the guidance of Sri Jisnu Dwivedi, and it has worked quite well. So we have experience on developing this kind of accelerating structure which will be required for the Linac. Then, as I mentioned in the beginning, that it really needs very special kind of pulse structure and which needs to be varied. So I've just listed where do we have the experience on these kind of gridded electron gun. So one is that at the VECC for their RIB project for the injecting the beam into the superconducting Linac, they have, I think, around 300 kV, and that is pulsed at 650 megahertz, 2 milliampere. So that is, and there is some experience which can be made use of. Even for the IRFEL, the electron gun, that is a triode gun gridded, and that is pulsed at 29.75 megahertz and up to 4 times also. So although, I mean, this experience will be helpful while making the electron gun for this project. And for the achromatic energy filter, again, for the industrial Linac at RRCAT, we need to cut off the beam having energy more than 10 MeV. So there also we have some experience on designing and actually developing the achromatic energy filter. And even some kind of filter is needed for the IRFEL RRCAT. So there is some experience on this. But the most challenging will be that here, like, we'll be operating 10 high power accelerating structures in a synchronized manner, and that is where we don't have experience to, running them in synchronism with a very good tight tolerance on the amplitude and the phase stability. I had mentioned in the earlier slide, which I forgot to emphasize, that the RF amplitude and phase stability requirements are very tight, 0.1% and 0.1 degree. So that is one challenge here. So this slide shows our experience in the design of RF structures. For the 9.5 MeV 15 kilowatt Linac, for the first time this kind of constant gradient traveling wave Linac was developed in the country. And we have the capability to do the full characterization. I mean, this is actually different from the usual standing wave structures for which expertise is there at other labs in the country. So even the single cell characterization method is different. I am not showing here, but the full Linac, like, it has been characterized, and roughly you can see that the amplitude is, okay, sir. So it is constant, and all the phases, etc. are, and this is actually not tuned. So when you tune it, it will improve even further. This slide shows the 15 kilowatt Linac which has been developed, and the results have been encouraging. And we have done some physics experiments also changing the phase of the pre-buncher, and it matches with what we predict from the theory. The next element is the subharmonic pre-buncher, which is actually quite standard, and that has been designed, and the drift space has been optimized so that you get a bunched beam for the buncher. And for the 500 MeV Linac, I mean, the different sections, the RF structure there that has been designed. The tricky part here is that you have to vary the apertures in a very precise manner, and accordingly you have to vary the cavity radius so that the amplitude remains constant. And that is actually, when we designed for the industrial Linac and we saw that it is remaining constant, that gives us the confidence. So all these parameters have been worked out. That is shown here, how the aperture radius is varying along the length and how the cavity radius is varying such that the electric field will remain constant. And we have expertise in doing all the 3D electromagnetic design. So all the tests which are finally done in the lab, I mean, they are done at the design test, I mean, at the design stage while simulating in the CST. So all these things are shown here. The electron gun also we have designed, it is a Pierce type gun, and we have optimized all the geometry parameters using the genetic algorithm to reduce the emittance, and we have shown that the required emittance can be met. And the gun has to operate at a wide range of current, 2 ampere to 40 milliampere. Then simulations have been done which show that it will give the desired parameter at all this range. And for the triode gun, simulations have been done by varying the grid bias voltage, and we have shown that that range can be obtained. And transporting the beam from there through the LEBT, all the LEBT has been designed so that we get the required beam parameters at the subharmonic pre-buncher cavity. The energy filter will have two 15-degree bending magnets which will bend the beam, and important thing here is to achieve the resolution, good resolution, because 0.5% if you are aiming for, the resolution should be something like 0.1%, and that has been achieved, and there is a poster by Divyans who has done this design, so we can go through that. So finally, after all this, the end-to-end beam dynamics studies have been done, the phases, etc., in the different sections have been optimized to get the required beam parameter, energy spread, and emittance. And this shows how the beam evolves in different structures, and this is how the phase space evolves. So finally, after all this, for these different modes, the required emittance criteria, energy spread, etc., that have been met. So that the design has been checked that it works at least successfully in the simulations. And recently, we are also trying to reduce some of the transport line lengths, because maybe after only after 100 MeV we have the full transport line. In between we can have just the minimal elements, and that has been done and optimized, and the possibility of reducing the total Linac length has been done. So to summarize, I mean, baseline design, including engineering design and civil layout, has been developed for the 500 MeV injector Linac. What I have not discussed here is the power converter, UHV, LCW, infrastructure controls, beam diagnostic, instrumentation, all these I mean, have been assessed, which are not covered in the talk, but that's where it has been done. And as it happens in the every project, as the booster ring design evolves, there may be need to do some changes, some additional modes of operation need to be provided. When we went from 200 to 500 MeV, it was just adding few sections, I mean more sections, and it worked because the pulse structure was not changed. But if you go for higher pulse charge mode, then the wake field effects may become more important, and then there may be more, I mean, major design change may be required. So to conclude, experience exists in various parts of the Linac development with identified areas requiring R&D. And it is being proposed to develop a 50 MeV Linac with an energy filter system in phase 1, while in phase 2 of the project, the full Linac development can be taken up. So I would like to acknowledge the physics design team and Linac task force team on behalf of whom I have presented this work. The references are given here, and thank you very much.
We can take one or two questions. So let us thank Dr. Vineet Kumar for a very...
Dr. Arup has some questions. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, here actually what I have shown is 90 kV. So that is, yeah, future also, yeah. Okay, thank
you. If there are no more questions, let us thank Dr. Vineet Kumar for a very excellent talk.
So with this, we have completed the technical presentations in the first technical session. Thank you, Gurnam Singh sir, for chairing the session and making it, trying to expedite as well as getting some expertise from your side also, and seeing the kind of vast experience Dr. Gurnam Singh is having on his design on Indus 1 and Indus 2, right from design to commissioning and operation. I request Dr. Sumit Som sir to present a memento to Shri Gurnam Singh sir. So with this, we come to the conclusion of technical session 1. But before we move on for lunch, I have 2 or 3 small announcements. We will have, number 1, the group photograph at the outside of the building on the stairs. All the participants and dignitaries are requested to be for the photograph. The announcement number 2 is for, we have pasted QR codes which the participants can scan and get the schedule and other important announcements there on the website. And third is those who are not Indian Particle Accelerator Society members may get the form from the registration desk and register as member for ISPA. I request ISPA membership will give you a lot of benefits. Please take it from the registration desk. Thank you all. Thank you. We will cut short the lunch duration, and I hope we will be able to meet by within maybe 1 hour from now, 13:30 it is now, and we will meet at 2:30 in the 3 sessions. There will be